iHeartMedia Chicago. It's Paulina here, and I'm really excited to finally be chopping it up with somebody that I've been trying to talk to for a minute. Miss King Marie, how are you today?
I'm blessed. How are you today?
I am so good, thank you. So I'm glad you're here today because we got a lot to talk about. I got a lot of questions for you, first and foremost.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you. So I know you are from Chicago.
Born and raised.
Born and raised in Chicago. So obviously I wanted to highlight Chicago artists, female artists in particular. But for me, I thought that you were so perfect for this also because you seem like you come from like a very, how do I say this, like musically influenced background. Because when I first met you or had heard of you, you DJ.
Yes.
So you're a DJ.
I'm
Now,
also a DJ, yes.
yeah, so you were or you still are? Or?
Still.
Okay. I was like, you didn't cut that, did you?
No,
You didn't stop.
never.
And you're a dope DJ too.
Thank you.
And now you do music. That to me is incredible because when your album dropped and I listened to it on iTunes, your friends were posting it and I'm like, oh my, I didn't know she can sing. Not that like you don't look like you can sing.
Yeah.
I just didn't like expect that because it's one of those things where you're just like, you're a little thrown off, but in a good way. So I'm like, I gotta check it out. I'm obsessed with I Decided.
Oh, thank you.
It's such a good song, but I kind of wanted to get the backstory about you a little bit because I know your story a little since I've been in a couple panels that you've spoken on,
Yes.
that you've participated in. But I kind of want to get the background about you. So you're from Chicago.
Yes, born and raised, northwest side of Chicago. I come from a musical family, so that's kind of where it all stems from. My mother is one of 13 children that came to the Philippines, so she's the only one who came here, and she came as a singer in a traveling band.
Wow.
So she understands the life. She really is supportive of her children being artists. My older brothers are also DJs, so she raised 3 DJs. Funny story is that I actually sang first. So what a lot of people don't know is that I sang first.
Okay.
I wanted to be like my mom. DJing actually never was in my mindset. It kind of was just like, oh, my brothers are DJs, I want to be like my mom. I want to sing. And she used to have this restaurant and lounge, and, I was raised in the nightlife. Like, my brothers would play while her band took a break,
Okay.
And so, like, I would just be in the office asleep, but she would wake me up to sing, specific songs. So, I've been performing at a young age. We kind of just been, our entire lives have been modeled around music. That's kind of what my family's love and nurturing has been based around. So it's kind of just been instilled in me.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, when it's kind of nice that people are a little surprised by the music, just because it's like this, like, I like that people don't know what to expect, and then they're kind of just surprised that it's good. I feel like it's not that people didn't think that I was capable. I feel like you said, like, it's just a little bit shocking because people know me as a DJ first, but I think everything kind of happened the way it was supposed to. I was supposed to take this little journey of being a DJ and, setting my platform and allowing me to come back to my music when I was ready.
Oh, definitely. And that's exactly what you just said. Like, I feel like, including myself, like, we put people in bubbles where, like, oh, you're a DJ, you're an artist, you're, like, I don't know, carpenter, like, whatever it may be.
Right.
Like, why can't we be more than that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Radio. I want to do so much more, too.
Yeah.
So people are going to be about to be, like, really surprised in about a year, too, so don't worry.
And I think, just being a multifaceted artist and being, strong women that want to explore every avenue of what they're capable of. It's like now is the time. Like every resource is available, every lane is available, and I feel like it's kind of like my obligation to make these and pave these ways so that little girls, my nieces, my future children can have what I didn't have. Where they don't have to explain themselves. They can just be whoever they want to be. I didn't have who I am when I was younger to be my role model. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that I could be that person for whoever's next.
Totally. Be the
Yeah.
person that you wish your younger self had.
Exactly.
I love that. So speaking of like influential, women and people in your life, besides your mother and your family, who were artists that you looked up to that you were like, I love their sound, the way they carry themselves, like, who did you look up to as far as the music world?
I feel like there's so many women artists. I feel like I take a lot from like 90s radio, just like growing up, like 90s radio, 90s house, or just house in general. So like CC Peniston,
Okay.
even into disco. Like my mom did like a lot of disco soul funk covers. So like Donna Summer, Shaka Khan, just like Whitney Houston, just like very strong women that were doing women empowerment before it was a thing, like they were just being themselves and wanting to uplift women. I think them as singers, there's a lot that I'm clearly forgetting, but as women DJs, like in my adult lifetime, like So Super Sam, Jasmine Solano. I met AM/PM out of Chicago a long time ago when I was still just bartending and figuring out, my early adult life. And I remember being, in the same establishment as her and hearing her DJ and being like, yo, like, she probably the only woman DJ that I knew of at the time, and she's still strong in the radio game. Like,
Totally.
So, yeah. I'd say those were just to name a few.
Yeah, no, I love that. So I have actually a question for you. Do you personally find the term, this is your opinion, like the term woman DJ or girl DJ, is that something that you feel like empowered by or something that you feel bothered by?
I think it's, it's more so bothersome now just because there's just as many women that are DJing as there are men,
Totally.
I feel, and I speak on this sometimes, where it's just like, I think the more that we accept the title, the more it's just the same, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to be singled out anymore. Like, we are the ones that are shining in these industries, so it's not necessarily male dominated anymore. Like, I don't want to keep accepting that title. I just want it to be known that we are also just, if not as good, or better than the men that are in these industries. And there might be, depending on the industry, right? But I just feel like we will eventually, like, take the gender off of who we're saying is coming. Like, no one says, hey, the male DJ is on his way.
That's so true. That's so damn true.
It's like, or the male DJ is next up. So I think eventually, and hopefully soon, it'll fall off. But at this point, I know that it's part of the conversation. But I do think that it just makes it sound special. It's also in context and how, it's perceived. But yeah, eventually I hope it falls off. It's in my head, it's like slightly bothersome, but I can understand why
it's being said.
Exactly.
Got you. No, I completely agree with that. Like, whenever I talk to other DJs and they're women, they seem, like they're not with it no more. They're like, we got to remove that term.
Right.
And I agree. So I'm not even mad at that.
Mm-hmm.
So now, really quick, back to your music. Who or should I say, like, when was a moment that you decided to return to that? Like you mentioned, you said that you sort of stepped away from the singing, and then you made the return. So at what point were you like, I'm doing this, it's happening?
There's been so many times where I tried to come back to my music and like make a home studio and just try and just try, right? But I feel like it didn't really happen. Maybe about a year ago, actually exactly a year ago, I went to Boston for the first time and got snowed in. They had like a really late snowstorm. It was like 20 inches of snow. It was wild. So I got snowed out in Boston for like 4 or 5 days, and within that span we went to, one of my DJ homies brought me along to a studio session, and I just went in the booth and kind of hummed melodies over this one beat. And the song FYM, I'm sorry, can I curse?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay. And the song Fuck You Mean was basically born. So that song's been over a year old, and it just made the project for the Prelude. But it took me being in a room full of strangers who, like, I got out the booth and they were like, yo, that was dope. And I was like, are y'all fucking with me? Like, you know, like, I can't take y'all fucking with me. And it really just took me being around people that I didn't know and, you know, didn't have the backstory or the judgment of me in the first place being an artist and not making music for X amount of time. Like, it just took that for me to, like, really believe in myself again, to be like, yo, this feels great. This is what I'm supposed to do. I want to try this again. There was a lot of personal issues and growth during the process of making the Prelude, and my own obstacles that I had to overcome. And it was just forcing myself to be in the studio and to create and to get used to a new system that it's been years, you know, it's been years since I've been in that headspace to create and to just be in music and just really making it come out of myself, you know, because I think I've kept so many feelings and that part of creating inside for so long that it just, it was a really emotional time, but in the most beautiful way. And so fast forward to 2019, so I started really doing the project in October of 2018, and Fuck You Mean was earlier in the year, but it sat for some time, and, you know, like, the summer came about, so for me as a DJ, it was just really intense. Summertime Shy is always really intense, so it was a lot of work. But after that, it was like I told my managers, like, told my boyfriend, I really want to do this. This is what I need for myself, and I know I need to do this. And come January 1st, 2019, you know, I made a decision to stay sober. And set this goal for myself to try and be sober for a year. We just passed July 1st, and it's been 6 months sober. So when I wrote, I decided it was basically me writing myself kind of like a self-love anthem and kind of like a promise to myself for what I wanted for myself and how I was going to see myself to get there. And I knew that the first step was to cut out alcohol. And it was very much so, like, you know, for anyone in the nightlife industry, it's a very,
like, necessary tool, right?
It's just so present that, you know, that it's just a part of your life. And, you know, it's so easy to say, hey, like, oh, I have dinner plans, let's go out for drinks after, or I'm DJing here, come meet me, I got a tab, it's free, it's this, I get a free bottle, it's part of my rider. It's just so consuming that it almost felt, it was a really, really rough time for me at the end of last year to the beginning of this year, where, you know, I was Googling the definition of alcoholic. I was trying to really figure out if it was an issue or if I was just too surrounded by it. So me writing, I decided, just kind of meant I am making this decision for myself, and no matter what placement it's going to hold on me. Because then, you know, when you're sober, people kind of look at you different, or they completely they exclude you out of things, or you know, or they just make you feel funny, or, you know, it's just being in a comfortable place with yourself. So I feel like that's been a lot of what the growth has been for me, and understanding that that was the first step I needed, and everything's kind of been falling into place since then.
That's insane. I would have never known, like, had you not shared this.
I think it's also sometimes I share it, sometimes I don't. It's really just When I don't share it, people just I'm just as teed as if I would have been. Like when I DJ, I'm always bouncing around, I'm always dancing. It's just kind of in my nature already, so people don't really question that part. But then when I do share it, that's kind of the response that I'll get. They'll just be like, "Oh wow, wow," you know, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At first, it was a really, it was tough. Every day's a new day. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like every day has its.
You've been in the
different
nightlife
obstacles.
industry for a minute, so of course
Yeah.
it's going to be a huge transition.
Yep.
That's crazy, but I mean, like in a good way.
Right.
Like I've had friends and family who have, you know, quit drinking, and I think I've watched it transform their lives. As dramatic as that sounds, that is so real. Like they decided, like you said, I decided.
And you know, I don't shame people that do drink. I feel like whatever works for you. When and the premise of that song is really just, you know, deciding what you want for yourself, you know, and like putting your foot, drawing a line in the sand of what you will tolerate versus what you